Hello, good afternoon. Shall we start now?
Yes, doctor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah. So I'm a little bit. Are we done with this one? No, Aristotle systematic logic. We have finished with that, right? Philosophers concern. Okay, can you kindly look on your note where did we stop? Because there is an overlap between these, and I'm a little bit advanced with the BSN because I have many classes with them. Until which slide did we finish from you in your side? Hello. Okay. Phenomenology. All right. So yeah. Anyway, we we'll try to finish this. No, this one. I think. All right. Okay. Can you hear me loud and clear? Is it? I'll finish this one. Then we will start with our new class. All right. Okay. So few slides only. Now, this is very interesting because the last topic that we are going to include today in the philosophy of education is very current, and at the same time, um, this is very useful to us, to students. This is pertaining to existentialism and phenomenology. This is current because, as of now, a lot of philosophers and at the same time, a lot of psychologists are using this. The reason is that if we're going to look on what's going on around us, they're actually looking into the meaning of what they are doing. So essentially, it's actually telling that we are thrown into this world like we are going to discover. It's our responsibility to discover why we are here. It's our responsibility to discover our own meaning. So, in short, the basic guideline for a teacher, if you're going to adopt these philosophies, that you're going to be helping your students to find the meaning of what they are trying to learn, you are also teaching. So it's just like that. These are the people who are responsible in proposing the philosophy of existentialism and phenomenology. We have Kierkegaard, Soren Kierkegaard, a very well-known existentialist. Now, we have Martin Buber, Karl Jaspers, Jean-Paul Sartre, Maxine, and Green. Now, these are existentialists. Now, for phenomenologists, we have Husserl. Phenomenology is actually a phenomena. This is also very useful in research. No, they utilize the concept of phenomenology in order to conduct timely research. And we'll discuss about that as we go on. As led by Husserl, Heidegger, Merleau-Ponty. No, and what is the basic idea? Why is it that these philosophies are here? No, so basically it asks the questions on the concern of our lives of an individual. No, we are also looking into the phenomenon on consciousness, perception, and essentially the meaning of all the experiences that we have, positive or negative. No, as of now, what can we find based on the experiences that we have in COVID-19? So essentially, we are going to look into the meaning of all the experiences that we have. We are going to help our students and other people to look for that. But essentially, there is a qualification. We need to qualify this before we can actually teach students because here, as a teacher, you should know who you are. You should know what you are. You can actually you need to realize. Can you hear me? Or am I talking to myself? Class, can you hear me? Can I get a reply?
Yes,
Or
doctor,
we
we
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you
All
proper.
right, okay. Now, sometimes it's very difficult because I think I was thinking that I was talking to myself, no? All right,
No, doctor,
moving
you are
forward.
talking to us.
Yeah, moving forward. So we have here, you see, we must, the basic idea here, as I told you earlier, is that we must make sense of the chaos on our encounter with the word, right? Basically, we do not know what's actually ahead of us. And we are also confused on what's actually going on around us. So the basic idea of finding the meaning of all this confusion, all this chaos, all this problem around us will be the essential function of existentialists. Now, accordingly, most of the existentialists mention that existence must precede essence. Now, we do not just exist. If you're going to look at the concept of existentialism, as a person, we exist, then what? You see? We exist, then what? As a human being, we exist as a human being, then what? So if you're going to look in that context of philosophy, what is the reason why you are here? So there must be something. There must be an essence of your existence. I think, therefore I am. That is the basic thing that we can analyze or realize here. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. But what is the meaning of your existence? No? People must create themselves and create their own meaning. You have to find. Maybe the meaning that you know is different from the meaning of others. Just like, for instance, the appreciation that we have with other things. Let's say with the more trivial things, attending school, for instance, appreciation on the nature, for instance, appreciation of suffering, for instance. Other people can actually find meaning in simple suffering. Other people can find meaning in achievement. You see? So we have to look at that, no? These are done through the choices that we are actually making, no? We choose things that we need to do. But of course, we have to be very responsible on the outcome of what we are supposed to, whether that's actually positive or negative, no? So changes are actually happening. Decisions are actually being done. So whatever the decisions would be, we must actually appreciate that, whether it's actually good for us or bad for us. No, an individual can make a difference in seemingly absurd and chaotic world. So moving forward, in the context of existentialism, no, we are always looking into the notion of possibility. What could have happened? What may happen? So education must focus on the needs of an individual, on your needs. That will include non-rational as well as rational. So we are going to look into the context of the notion of possibility. If there is a possibility that we will fail, there is a possibility that we will succeed. Our reaction would be what? You see, if we are going to succeed, then we'll be very happy. What about if we're going to fail? There are always like that, no? So no matter what, we should be happy, we should be content. That is what is being discussed or what's being emphasized in existentialism. So we need to find meaning in almost anything and everything that we do. So the teachers must understand their own word, their own existence, their own ideas, their own feelings, everything around them, so that they can actually influence the students also to understand the word. How can you influence a student to understand the word if you do not understand yourself, the world that you live in? We cannot teach idealized self. We cannot teach idealized essence of everything to the students. We are going to present things that could actually be good, pleasant, and at the same time unpleasant to our students, so that they will see it, they will realize it. They are going to decide for themselves what they are going to do, what they want to do. Just in case if the student will fail, what are they going to do? How are they going to react? That is the thing that we must always bear in mind. That's our responsibility. So basically, before you can teach a student, you have to train yourself finding your own meaning, looking into yourselves, looking into your experiences, so that you can influence students. That's the reason why there are so many teachers who are always telling about personal experiences first, because they think that this will be very helpful to the students. It is a very good strategy when you're going to teach, but of course, do not overdo it to the extent that the whole class will be telling about yourselves. Maybe you may spend about 1, 2, or 3 minutes, because that will indicate that you understand the world that you are living in, and you are letting the student to understand the world that they live also. And basically, it will be like telling the students that you understand the word also. You see, before you can actually do that, now in psychiatry, I believe Dr. Raza mentioned to you about self-discovery, self-concept, self-understanding. This is it. You should understand who you are, okay? Before you can teach. In psychology, we cannot actually be very effective psychotherapists if we do not know ourselves. In teaching and in the context of existentialism, they cannot teach, as teacher cannot teach, if he cannot understand himself and the world he lives in. You see, if you understand the world that you live in, it's very easy to teach and influence our students. The notion that we should be wide awake, we should know what's going on, we should be open to all the things that are happening around us. You see? And the role of teachers here will be intensely very personal. No? You should know what's going on around you. You should know the news. You should not actually be thinking about the subject that you're going to teach. In order to influence students, the concept of vertical and horizontal integration must always be there. You should also be knowledgeable of the things around you, of what's going on around you. That's the reason why we mention here about wide awake. Wide awake. You should be open to suffering. You should be open to success so that you can actually influence people. That's the context of existentialism. In short, you can actually discuss the reality of the lived experience of the students. Now, this is different from realism, because in realism, we are going to look for truth based on the material world. But in the existentialism, this is actually pertaining to the reality of the lived world. You see, the reality of human experiences. The student must always realize that they are human beings, that they are actually needing to find their purpose, to enjoy it. Like, for instance, in nursing, you see, why did you enroll in nursing? Why did you enroll in RMBSN program? Some of you would actually tell me, you keep on telling me last year, no? Maybe some of you would tell me, sir, I need only the certificate. You see? But what is the meaning of the certificate? So you have to look into the reason. You have to look into the meaning of your own experiences. Why is it that you are actually attending the school? Basically, it's just like that. You have to be very aware on what's going on. You can actually translate these experiences as lesson, as a material to influence the students to find their own meaning also. No? You see, what made us different with a zombie? Zombie, you see, zombie, everybody's watching zombie films, not zombie movies. They are also human beings, but they have no meaning. They exist as human beings, but they have no soul. They have no brain. But for us, alive, it is actually our own obligation to find the reason why we exist, to find the reason why we are here, to find the reason why we are doing things that we love, and even the things that we do not love. And of course, we should be very aware about the consequences. So essentially, this is how and what phenomenologists and existentialists would actually do inside the classroom. Okay? So you teach human experiences. That's the only thing that we can actually look into. There are also other philosophers who influence in teaching, and this time we have Marxism. Neo-Marxism is actually a very good concept in the context of how we view education as very helpful and influential in social reform. It actually denotes equality. It actually emphasizes equality. And it contradicts the concept of capitalism. You see? Because you see, if you're going to apply this in what you're doing right now, no, as a capitalist, you're always looking into business side. You're always looking into money, profit, 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 profit. That's essentially the thing. Human being has no value. Education has no value. You see, even when you're going to die, you are nothing. You are just a statistic. You have no value to capitalists as long as you are going to bring in profit. So this is essentially what we actually have here. No, in neo-Marxism, it will emphasize the importance of human beings, and at the same time, it actually negate capitalism. You see, moving forward, the role of education in this case should be to give the students the insight to demystify capitalism. You are not enrolled in nursing. You have not taken that profession for profit. You have taken up nursing because you would like to help. So that's essentially the main part. You do not decide based on profit alone. You do not decide based on money alone. Uh, Looking into some criticisms that we have in our career, in our profession, you see, a lot of people are actually telling that 12 hours of shift is actually very helpful. For me, it will never be very helpful psychologically and physically because you are going to tax nurses. Imagine 8 hours is already tiring. What more if you're going to work 12 hours? I know some of you are working 12 hours, especially in the emergency. In nursing, we're not supposed to be like that. In the history of nursing, no nurse would actually have experienced 12-hour duty. If you're going to extend 8 hours, what will become of you? You see? Now, I do not know. I'm not trying to criticize the program that we have, but it looks like the decision is based on the business model. You see? What do you mean by the business model? If you're going to have 12 hours shift, that means to say you cut the shift into two only instead of three. Less manpower. So the decision is always based on capitalist side, capitalism. Less money, less salary. You see? The moment is less money because instead of having three shifts, you're going to reduce into two shifts already. So basically, the money that you will be spent will be less compared to a 3 hour shift when you're going to consider that. You know this already because I believe some of you here are already considering are already in management. No, most of the time the basis of decision would be on money and profit. But what about people? What about human beings? This is what was emphasized in neo-Marxism. We have to look into the importance of human being. We have to look into the importance of equality. We have to look into the importance of looking into the holistic thing, not only on profit. So therefore, neo-Marxism actually emphasized a radical change to not only look into money. We have to look into equality. You know, there are so many people actually who emphasize this, especially as I mentioned to you earlier. Industrialization. Industrialization emphasizes lots of money, lots of profit, 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 profit. That should not be good. In fact, there was a point in our history where women were useless. You see? What do you mean by useless? They were not allowed to work. They were not allowed to they were not allowed to decide on their own. The decision would always be on the female. So many neo-Marxists came in, and that should not be. They mentioned that. Women must be educated, women must perform, women must also work. They're capable of working as men. All right? So Marx believed that the history of civilization was defined by class struggle, no? Always the rich people will rule and the poor people will follow, right? Now the teacher in this case will be serving as transformative intellectual, transformative agent, wherein you are going always to promote equality. You're going to remove class struggle. I believe Indians are familiar with this, the caste system. You see? If you are familiar with the caste system, you should know. I believe in modern India, they removed this already. But I've heard that in some other tribe, they are still practicing this. Higher caste, lower caste. So they are not allowed to mix. One time in the United States, the black and the white, they were considering white before as superior than black. So if you're going to look at what's happening in the United States right now, they are always struggling. They said Black Lives Matter because black people would actually feel as if they are actually left behind. You see, there should be no distinction between black and white. In short, they must always be considered as human beings. There should be no distinction between rich and the poor because they are the same. They are similar human beings. There is no distinction between director of nursing, staff nurse, or nurse attendant. We are all nurses. In short, we are contributing into the delivery of patient care. There must be no distinction between doctor and nurses because essentially we are very different. Nurses are not maids of doctors. Their line of work is different from the line of work of nurses, like telling that, like you are comparing an architect with an engineer. Architect and engineer, they are equal because they are two important people in building a building. Architect designs, engineer implements. You see, that is actually the meaning of what we actually have here. The principle of equality. Now, if you're going to be a teacher, make it sure that you are going to teach students that way. All right. So I will end up our philosophy of education here. Now, I really would like to clarify this. Now, if you are going to have to be a teacher, you should stand into something in order to be very effective. You should know what you are. You should know what you are capable of, so that you will know and you should know what you are going to teach your students. So basically, that's actually the essential part of philosophy of education. You should know your basis. So we are done with teacher's side, understanding the teachers. So finding your own philosophy, adapting your own philosophy. Now we are going to look into student's side, understanding the learning style, the understanding the theory of education. So we are going to look into how the students learn. So any questions so far in the philosophy of education?
No,
There
thank
is
you.
none. Okay, there is none. Now we'll proceed into uh, the new topic. All right. So the learning style. Okay. Now, did I ask you to define learning? How do you define learning? We're going to teach. Therefore, we are expecting that somebody will learn from us. Now, basically, from your interaction with a patient or with a student to be, how would you define learning? Anybody?
Gathering the new information.
All right, gathering new information. Very good. What else? I like that answer. But how and what are you going to do with this information? You see, right now you are acquiring information because we are actually lecturing only. But what are you going to do with this information? That is actually
Improving
the
myself
tricky
with
part.
something, with some task. Improving
Yeah,
myself with some task I want to.
okay. Including, all right, task. Okay, Iman, that's very good. Anyone? Anybody else? Improving yourself with tasks, that's very good. Acquiring skills, that's very good. But what are you trying to change? It assumes that when you learn, there is something to be changed. And what's that?
Our quality of work and our objective and our performance, this one would be improved by learning, and learning that means we are receiving the proper information.
You are going, in short, you are improving yourselves, the quality of work, right? So, right? That's a very good
Yes.
answer.
Yes.
Yeah. So, based from your answer, the emphasis is only one thing. And what's that? Your behavior, isn't it? We learned that in your psychology. Behavior. These are the things that are tangible. These are the things that people see, isn't it? If you're going to interpret behavior in learning, we learned that in psychology, these are the things that people see from us, right? Soha mentioned about quality of work. Iman mentioned about improvement of oneself. You see, if you're going to improve, there is something that you are trying to change. Why do you need to improve? Because there is a thing that is not yet polished. So you would like to polish that. That's your skill. So if you're going to improve your skill, you are trying to change behavior. So if you're going to change that, what do you think will be the change? Is it short term or is it long term? I'll give you an example. In your nursing career, in your nursing education, you are actually basically trying to learn new skills. So what are actually being done in testing your new skills? You are taking the examination, right? What kind of examination do we take in order to look into our skill? Your OSCE, isn't it? Right?
Yes.
Everybody is trying to be tested with their OSCE. Now, one student will actually memorize all the steps, isn't it? So that they can actually pass. Is that the only thing that we are actually trying to aspire for when we try to learn?
No,
Now, you are not only trying to pass, you're trying to change your behavior, not for a short term, but long term, isn't it? Because once that you change your behavior, the change will be lifelong, right? The change will be for a lifetime, isn't it? Now, no matter what you're going to do right now, you can easily take blood pressure, right or wrong, isn't it?
right, right.
Before you became a nurse, what do you think? Did you know how to take blood pressure?
Hesitating to take blood pressure before.
Yes. Now, when you are already a nurse, basically, you are already confident to take that. So there was a change of behavior. No matter what, in extreme circumstances, you could always adapt that. You could always utilize that. That's the reason why we keep on always telling, once you become a nurse, you will always be a nurse. Isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll give you another example. The principles that you have learned in operating room, operating theater. I believe some of you here are working in the operating theater, right? And others also have experience in operating theater. Isn't it that when we are cooking at home, we are also applying the principles that we learn, isn't it? In operating theater, you enter the door. Maybe you do not actually use when you're holding something. No, you use your elbow to open, and you use your back to push so that you will enter. When you are cooking in the kitchen, the principle of aseptic technique, right? You're going to open the casserole. So instead of opening the cutter and place that, you place that upside down. When you wash your hands, you apply the principle of unwashing. In short, it becomes a part of you. It becomes life. It becomes who you are. That is actually the meaning of learning. Learning basically can actually be transformed into permanent change of behavior. Gradual is not gradual, but permanent change of behavior. No one and no one will take away your learning. Nobody. Once that you learn it, it has an effect on your behavior, it will become permanent. That's how we define learning. So therefore, when examination comes and I'm going to ask you, how do you define learning? It's very easy. It's simply permanent change of behavior, isn't it? We acquire information. Yes. Who answered the first one? It was I forgot the name of who answered the first one.
Me.
Yeah, okay, Asma. Acquisition of knowledge. Now you acquire knowledge so that you have something to use. You acquire skill so that you have something to use and improve your behavior. Behavior is pertaining to your skills that will improve the quality of work. That's essentially what we have here, right? So basically, we already define learning as such, but we have to look into various definition of learning according to some authors. Now, in 1994, this call defined learning as change in human performance or performance potential, brought about by the learner's interaction with the environment. See, remember the key word is change in human performance, skills, behavior-wise. In 1982, Mayer also defined learning as a permanent change in person's knowledge. There is change in your knowledge or behavior due to your experiences because your experience is actually brought up. You are actually going to get new experiences. As a result of that experiences, you acquire knowledge, you acquire skills that will improve more your behavior. Okay? And of course, in 1986, Showell defined learning as enduring change in behavior, in the capacity to behave in a given fashion, which results from practice or other forms of experience. The three agreed on the term change. So basically, if there is learning, there is a change. If you're going to look at that in the context of linear learning, no, there is a change from one point to another. There is no returning back. It's one way. Because once that you learn something, you will not unlearn it. You see? Not unless it will bad. It is actually a very bad. You know, in psychology, experiences and knowledge can be learned, can also be unlearned. The things that cannot be unlearned are those things most probably associated with bad experiences. But in learning to improve our profession, learning in order to change our behavior, it would rather be permanent. So basically, that's actually the point that we have. Now, how does an individual learn? Can you actually tell me if there is an effective way to learn? Anybody from the class? Is there an effective way to learn? No. I myself cannot actually tell anything, no, about a basic or effective way to learn. A lot of students are actually coming. Sir, can you teach me how to learn? Sir, what is the most effective way to learn? I cannot answer them. Why? Because learning is essentially a personal experience. I can only help, but I cannot actually claim that I know how you are going to learn. I know how to teach properly so that you are going to learn. So basically, when you're going to be a teacher, you're not going to look into one student only. you are going to look into the whole group, the whole cohort. And way of learning by the whole cohort will be different from one another because there is no, there is no, let's say, common denominator among the three students. Students are different from one another. So how do people learn? Nobody knows, including me. But of course, we will understand. In a way, there are so many theories who actually propose how students learn. So that's the reason why I am actually introducing this to you, because you may adapt this in order to address the need of your students in the classroom. As I keep on telling the student in the class, every single student is unique. Every single student is different from one another. So I pick up very important learning theories that would be the basis for you as a teacher to decide on what you're going to do inside the classroom. So we have number one, behaviorism. Number two, cognitivism. I believe I told this in your class in psychology before. So we'll tackle first behaviorism. Then in behaviorism, there is also the context of unlearned behavior. But anyway, we'll discuss more about that. There is also SLT. There is also social constructivism. There's also MI. There's also BBL. So I would like to discuss this with you one by one and give some examples on how you can actually utilize this in the classroom when you're going to teach the students. We start first with behaviorism. You're familiar with this, right? Behaviorism is actually suggested by psychologists, no? Founder of psychology, by the way, Jen Watson, and followed by Titchener, right? They suggested that. And of course, in the context of learning, there are two physiologists who experimented on animal behavior. We have Ivan Pavlov, and the other one is Borges Skinner, B.F. Skinner, in short, no? Here, what is actually the focus when you're going to teach your students? Behaviorism as applied in the classroom. So we are borrowing the context of psychology. We are borrowing the concept that we learn in psychology. So in order to apply behaviorism, we have to look into the context of the classroom experiences, imagining at least an average classroom size of 30. Now, so what are we going to do? We're going to look into observable and measurable behavior. See, so that we have something to evaluate. We have something to look at. That's actually the meaning of this. The keyword is behavior. We are going to look into the improvement on the skills, improvement on the quality of work, as you mentioned earlier, improvement on your human experiences that you are actually displaying as perceived by others. You see? So we will confine the evaluation based on observable and measurable behavior. How good are you? How good are you in getting vital signs? How good are you in assisting your patient? How good are you in assisting the doctor in conducting the operation or doing the operation? How good are you in making nursing diagnosis? See, so we are going to look at that. There must be a tangible and observable behavior that you will display. That is basically the thing that a teacher must always observe. We have to look on the skills. We have to look on the most tangible and observable behavior that your students may actually display. So we borrowed based from this, no? So we will be borrowing the concept of Ivan Pavlov in classical conditioning and the concept of B.F. Skinner in operant conditioning. These two are actually very, let's say, different concepts that address the concept of behaviorism. In classical conditioning, we are actually looking into stimulus and response. In operant conditioning, as applied to the classroom, we're going to look into reward and punishment, no? So the reward and the punishment. So like for instance, we do this all the time in the classroom. If you are going to say, what is you see, if there is a question to be asked in the classroom and somebody will actually tell the answer, you will always say, very good, very good. You acknowledge. Acknowledging the student is a reward. Or maybe, I'm going to give you additional 5. It's a reward. I'm going to give you a star. It's a reward system. But if the student is actually bullying somebody in the class, very noisy in the class, you're going to spend time out. That means you ask the student to move out from your class, not attending the class. That's punishment. See? So the reward and punishment. What is actually the implication? This. You see, when you are going to give reward, students tend to repeat the rewardable experiences. It's learning. When you're going to do punishment, the students will tend not to repeat the behavior that caused his or her punishment. So basically, that's actually the point. It's very important that we are actually going to adapt this. Now, moving forward, so let us try to look into classical conditioning according to Ivan Pavlov. Ivan Pavlov is a Russian physiologist. He's not even a psychologist, but he contributed so much in the context of behaviorism. So a stimulus is presented in order to get a response, isn't it? So basically, you've heard about the experiences of the dog. No, I explained this to you in the class in psychology before. See, so what's this all about? We will look into the stimulus and the response. The response is actually coming from the student. The stimulus is coming from everywhere, the environment, the teacher, from the instruction. But looking into the experiment of Ivan Pavlov, see, there must be stimulus, there must be a response. But along the way, there is another way that is actually brought about by unconditioned stimulus and unconditioned response. So moving forward, there is also a conditioned stimulus, then there is also unexpected response. We call it conditioned response. So if we're going to recall the experiments of Pavlov, what did he do? He tried to observe the behavior of dog. Now what happened with the behavior of the dog? You see, one day when he was actually experimenting and observing the behavior of the dog, he conducted first the experiment in association to the food that the dog will be given. All right. So at one point, Pavlov give food. Okay, so definitely the food, especially with the dog is actually very hungry, he would actually take the food. At one point in the experiment of Ivan Pavlov, before he actually give the dog a food, he would ring the bell, right? So he would ring the bell. So it was actually practiced for a few weeks, no? So therefore, the dog associated the bell with the food. Okay. So whenever he give the food, whenever he actually rings the bell, the dog would come. He knows that
Responding to the stimuli.
yes, responding to the stimuli, he knows that there is food. Now at one point, what happened? No? At one point, what happens that Pavlov rang the bell, and obviously the dog came. So the dog came, did not see any food because he removed the response. He removed the food. So what happened to the dog? The dog was expecting food. There must be food. So he salivated. The dog salivated. You understand what I mean? He observed he observed the dog for quite some time. Every time he would ring the bell, the dog would come, and he was actually thinking that that bell is associated with food. Therefore, the ring of the bell must be food. So every time Pavlov would do that and would have no food, every time the dog comes and the dog would salivate. You see? So basically, we have to look at this. Now, the condition stimulus, we must be expecting that there must be a condition response, there must be a food. This is actually very important in education. How do we apply this in the classroom? You see, in the classroom, we are expecting that when a student actually comes, students are expected to learn. The teachers are expecting also from the students to learn. It's two-way process. When you're going to teach, you intend that there must be something to be changed. Hi, Dr. Rabal. I'm holding my class. Yeah, anything. RMBSN2. Your class. Huh? No, class is 11:45. I'm doing it. I'm doing it now. Yeah. What's that? Okay, what's that? Yeah. Yeah, I saw last night. Very sorry for the interruption. That's Dr. Rabab. So Dr. Rabab was discussing already about the quiz. I told it's too early next week. So maybe 2 weeks from now we are going to have our first quiz, and the first quiz will basically in philosophy. Okay, I'm not going to make difficulty with you. So I am just very particular about your assignment, but for your quiz, just focus on the revision on philosophy of education. Okay, you so that you are given much time. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. You focus on the philosophy of education. That is the first quiz that I can actually give. Only one topic. Moving forward. Okay. So let's proceed with the next topic. It's called operant conditioning. BF Skinner. We apply this all the time in the classroom. Teachers' favorite, no? So that's why BF Skinner is very influential in the educational system, in learning and in education, because he was the one who contextualized the value of reward and the value of punishment. In this case, the response is made first, then reinforcement actually follow. The reinforcement is either positive or negative. That's actually the context of reward and punishment. Yeah. So behaviorism as applied in the classroom. I'll finish this slide, then I'll check the attendance, then I'll let you go. Learning is defined by the outward expression of new behaviors. Now, we're going to look into the changes that an individual will actually have. We're expecting that if you're going to be in college, there must be something. Yeah. So behaviorism also will focus solely on observable behaviors, the thing that we can actually see. We're expecting that. Imagine you're teaching BSN1. BSN1, fresh from high school. Basically, they do not have any idea about nursing. Basically, they do not know how to take temperature properly. Basically, they don't know how to take vital signs. What are you expecting from them? This is also my favorite because you see, you are expecting that students will be transformed immediately. And sometimes when we are going to school, especially our children who are going to college already, we will be asking all the time from them, you are in college already, aren't you? That means to say you are expecting that they would behave properly, they would actually behave very well because they are in college, different from high school. So there is transformation. So you would like to see a very tangible evidence of their learning. So this is exactly the thing that we need to observe from here. Tangible. the one that can be seen, the one that can be touched. In short, the one that you can actually see and detect. All right. And also, we are going to look into biological basis of learning. Here, learning is always context independent. No? Learning is always context independent. We are expecting that student must actually gain something, must have changed something. That's the key word. Must have changed something. We try to transform from newbies to expert. That is actually the focus on behaviorism. Before, you do not know how to take temperature. Now, when you change that, you know already how to take temperature. There is transformation, not known to know. Not to recite, to recite. Write, not know how to write, you know how to write. You see? Not know how to read, you know how to read. You will always compare from the first point to the second point. You can always find a transformation. You can always find a change from one point to another point. That is basically what we want to see from our students in the classroom. There will always be a tangible evidence that learning took place. Okay? So we will be utilizing classical and operant conditioning a lot here based on reflexes by Pavlov and by Skinner based on feedback, rewarded punishment, reinforcement, the positive and negative reinforcement. Now, this is actually behaviorism in the classroom, the rewards and punishment, as I mentioned to you earlier. You see? Now, what are the rewards that actually are taken by the students in the classroom? Very easy, no? So, just acknowledging the student in the class is already a reward. Of course, another reward would be their grades, would be their mark. Imagine your children who are actually coming to you, showing to you the stamp on their hands. That's a reward. Appreciation by the teacher is a reward already. And of course, punishment. You will be surprised to know that sometimes your children will not tell you that they are punished inside the classroom. But punishment is a part and parcel of teaching in the classroom of behaviorism. No? We need to do that in order to control the behavior of an individual. The responsibility for student learning rests squarely with the teachers. It's a one-way system. You hold the knowledge, you think that the teacher, that the student must learn from you. You hold 100% the knowledge. And this is always good for those students who are trying to learn something. And this is always lecture-based, very highly structured. You know what to teach. That's the reason why if you're going to look on what's happening in your in the elementary where your children are actually studying, most of the time they're applying behaviorism in the classroom. That's why or if you're going to ask Skinner among the teachers of your children, they will know because they're actually trained based on the context of BF Skinner. This is highly structured. That's why they are writing lesson plan. They should know what to teach next from one step to another up to the time that they are going to be evaluated in one single period. That's basically what we have in behaviorism. And of course, behaviorism in the classroom is not perfect, right? Behaviorism in the classroom is not perfect because, number one, it does not account for processes that will take place in the mind that cannot be observed. We will not look into the mind of the student. We have to look only, our main concern is to look on the outcome based. And we do not care about what is the process that's going on in the brain of the student. Advocates for passive student learning in a teacher-centric environment. Sometimes students are not even acknowledged in this case. And we tend to think that students are similar. One size fits all. See? Knowledge itself is given and absolute. And who is the holder of knowledge? The teacher. As program instruction, and of course, teacher proofing. Now, this may be good for people who are still trying to learn. But for all people like us, behaviorism may not be necessary. Okay? So basically, I will end our class today on behaviorism. Okay? So next meeting, we will tackle some more. We'll tackle the other learning theory, particularly on cognitivism. Okay? For now, can you try to write present in the message board? Since this is recorded, I will just take note of your attendance in the message board. Any questions so far, as of now?
Thank you.
You have any question, class? Any clarification? No? All right. And then write present, and you can actually leave the chat room. Thank you, and God bless all of you. See you next meeting.
Thank you, Doctor, so much.
Thank you. Have a good day. Have a nice day.
ഞാൻ നോക്കുമ്പോ ആസ്മ മാത്രമേ ഉള്ളൂ, പേരൊന്നും വിളിച്ചില്ല സിജി. Page.
خلاص اي شيء بيكلمني ولا يهمك ان شاء الله.